And in South Africa, a deal has been reached to form a coalition government with Cyril Ramaphosa expected to be re-elected as president. Lawmakers have been sworn in at a ceremony in Cape Town after recent elections saw Mr Ramaphosa's African National Congress lose its parliamentary majority for the first time. ANC leaders have signed a coalition deal with the Democratic Alliance, which was once its biggest political opponent. The president's re-election is part of that deal. If Mr Ramaphosa is the only candidate nominated, he'll be elected without a vote. Now, DA leader John Steenhuisen said a coalition government was inevitable.
The people have spoken. They have not given any party a majority. It now requires parties to come together. Mr Ramaphosa is the leader of his party, and he is the leader of a party that is committed to constitutionalism, defending our democracy and its institutions, and therefore we will work with him, just as we will join hands with any person in the political spectrum who is genuinely committed to clean, corruption-free, transparent government that delivers to the people and focus like a laser beam on getting rid of poverty, of fighting unemployment, of making sure that South African citizens have electricity in their homes and in our economy, and that we are on a trajectory that is moving upwards, not downwards.
Well, our correspondent Dan Hawker is at the Cape Town Convention Centre where Parliament is meeting, and she gave me this update on Cyril Ramaphosa's re-election.
Yes, it is still ongoing, and today has been definitely a marathon and not a sprint when it's come to the processes here. At the end of the day, though, it does seem like Ramaphosa would be the winner of that race, because the Democratic Alliance has said that it will vote along with the ANC. Between the two parties, or combined rather, they have about 61% of the total votes here, and that would take Ramaphosa over the line. Of course, this is part of a deal that the two parties have worked on, along with some other smaller parties, to form what they've called a government of national unity. And that's a coalition agreement that will see the ANC and the Democratic Alliance, along with the IFP and some other parties, working together to form a government going over the next 5 years.
And so what did the ANC have to promise the Democratic Alliance to get them to back Ramaphosa for president?
Well, they haven't really revealed the full details of the arrangement, but the first sort of concession that we've seen thus far is that the deputy speaker position, which is actually being voted on as we speak, will go to a Democratic Alliance candidate. The ANC didn't field a candidate for this position. They fielded a speaker candidate, and the DA voted along with them. The DA fielded a deputy speaker candidate, and the ANC is expected to vote along with them. But I think amongst the concessions and things that the ANC are kind of acknowledging going forward is that they will have to do things differently going forward, Phil. We spoke to the Secretary General of the party, Fikile Mbalula, earlier on, and he essentially said that without change, the party will die. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
If we behave like we have been, fighting for positions, fighting for conferences, and forget about the people, we will be wiped out. We will be wiped out, we'll lose power. The people have not just warned us, they have actually spoken very loud.
And the ANC, going forward, will have to look at the situation when it comes to this coalition agreement and start to give some positions to its new partners in the Democratic Alliance. While they haven't said exactly what those positions are, in previous cabinets, we've had about 35 different government departments which will have a minister and a deputy minister. And some of those positions will have to start going to those parties that they have agreements with, so that the government can move forward. Other kinds of concessions will also have to be on some policy issues and how they are handled, because there's a significant difference in the way that the DA and the ANC look at how the solutions should be made for the country. The ANC is much more interested in having the government involved and almost like having a more socialist perspective. whereas the Democratic Alliance is more focused on rolling government back, making sure that the conditions are created for business to build the economy as opposed to the government being the economic builder, and then making those conditions and allowing business to do the job creation aspect. So we'll have to see how they meet each other on those two fronts.
OK, we were just looking at scenes inside the Parliament as you were speaking there, Diane. Sharing power will be a first for the ANC. How will they manage?
I think it will be a difficult balancing act, but probably not impossible if one considers that within the ANC itself, there have been a number of competing interests over the past few years. The ANC started out as a liberation movement, and so many people joined the party, not necessarily because they believe in the ANC's current policies, but because they believed in the ideal of liberating South Africa. And we've since seen other people leave the party and breaking away, and even the ANC having to make certain concessions amongst factions within the party. Now the difference will be that they'll have to make those concessions with external parties while simultaneously trying to hold on to their core values. And speaking to Mbalula earlier on, he had mentioned that there are things that they won't concede on. They still believe in many of their foreign policy perspectives. They still believe in a basic minimum wage, but they are prepared to talk on other issues like how South Africa should solve its jobs crisis, and the modalities of how South Africa should solve its energy crisis. And to be quite honest, those are the issues that South Africans are most concerned about, and they want to see quick solutions to. So if the DA and the ANC and other parties in this coalition can agree on a way forward, the coalition would actually be able to work quite well. But if they get stuck on those points and on issues of positions, that's where there's difficulty.
Thanks, Diane. DW correspondent Diane Hawker in Cape Town.